Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Desiato and welcome back to the Jumpstart video series. I hope that thus far you've begun to identify things in your life that are important to you and you're overcoming the fear of pursuing that thing that you know you were created to do. The human body is not intended to be awake before the sun comes up. That's something I ignorantly and somewhat rebelliously declare to my wife every morning as I try my best to swim to the surface of consciousness. I'm not a morning person. Those of you who know me personally may add that I'm not an afternoon or evening person either, and to that I say, you're probably right. But studies have shown that our productivity level drops as the day goes on. That's why it's important to develop a morning ritual or routine that allows you to be as efficient as possible before lunch and before you hit that dreaded 2 p.m. wall. One of the things that most distracts me is the overwhelming temptation to check my electronic devices immediately. This is probably the most counterproductive thing you can do, which is something I'm finally realizing, thankfully. The reason being is that if I see something that needs to be addressed, I find it next to impossible to do anything else before it's been addressed. On some days, I'm guilty of missing breakfast and neglecting my own personal hygiene because I dive headlong into the craziness of running my own business. Here's what I'm laying out for myself as a guide, and hopefully I can stick to it so that it eventually becomes a habit. The number one thing I need in the morning is coffee. It's a no-brainer. Now, my wife and I were not coffee drinkers until we had our second child, and even then, we had to force ourselves to like it. But now I realize that coffee is more of a psychological thing than anything else. Prayer. Now, you may not be a spiritual person, and that's just fine. But for me, this is an indispensable tool in my daily arsenal. It helps me to reconnect with God and focus my mind on the things that really matter. It also helps me to empty my own personal complaint box to start the day. Eating seems like a simple thing, but I forget this part more often than I realize. But the saying is true. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Mine usually consists of eggs, toast, and a glass of kefir. Look it up. Just enough to kickstart the metabolism, but not too much so that I feel lethargic for the rest of the day. Here's a hint. If you really like breakfast food, eggs, sausage, pancakes, the works, try having a night with breakfast on the menu for dinner. That way you can still enjoy it without that feeling of having to take a nap as soon as you're done eating breakfast. Reading. For me, I try to read a little every morning. It helps to stimulate the brain and exercises the mind so that you're ready to tackle the day ahead. I usually start with some Bible reading, but I also try to mix in some nonfiction or fiction. Depends on what I'm currently reading at the time. I recommend using the time to read something in hard copy format. The reason I say this is because the pull of technology only gets stronger as the day goes on, so fight off that temptation as long as you can. Hygiene. It should go without saying, but unfortunately for someone like myself who jumps right into work and just walks to my couch and that's my office, the final step that we solo entrepreneurs can sometimes overlook, especially if we're not planning on face-to-face interaction with the outside world on a particular day. But I realize that showering and getting dressed as though I'm leaving for the office helps me to get in the right frame of mind to approach my work, even if it's mostly out of my home. The final step is committing. Now, I know you may say, I don't have enough time to do all of this before I work. Well, may I suggest that you wake up earlier to allow the appropriate amount of time to accomplish all of the steps in this routine. You'd be amazed at how much you can achieve in that extra time each morning, especially if you're trying a little side hustle. If you're starting to implement things and you've identified something that you want to pursue, but you can't quit your day job. Obviously, you need income. The morning is a great time to spend on that dream, even if it means getting up at 5 o'clock before everybody else. If you want to write a book or do something, take that time from 5 to 7 or 5 to whenever you need to start getting ready for your real job and work on your dream. It's important that we do that. I'd love to hear about how you spend your mornings. I'd be interested for sure because it might help me with my morning routine. So please feel free to reach out and let me know. Here's a couple quotes to end the video. William Pitt Chatham says, "I would have it inscribed on the curtains of your bed and the walls of your chamber. If you do not rise early, you can make progress in nothing." Jonathan Swift says, "I never knew a man come to greatness or eminence who lay abed late in the morning. I love the old English. Lay abed. But anyway, hopefully this has given you the motivation that you need to start working on yourself and working on your dream in the morning when you're most effective. I think it's going to help you a lot. If you are interested, please reach out to me. Share this video with somebody you know that may love to sleep a little too much, like this guy. And tune in next week for another video to jumpstart this next chapter of our lives. Thanks a lot for watching, and Godspeed.